Here are some thoughts on another Horace Silver composition entitled Nutville. My personal first interaction with this tune was from the Buddy Rich Band. I first heard this as a big band chart, even before I heard the Horace Silver version of this. And this is going back to my high school days, actually. Um, and there was a guy who, if you haven't heard that particular arrangement, Greg Hopkins was the guy who arranged it for Buddy's band. He was a really great trumpet player. And, I'm not sure if he's still up there or not, but I know he was teaching at Berkeley for a while, or even if he's still around. I just haven't really heard the name in a while. But, definitely somebody, great arranger, those years of the 70s through Buddy's band, Roar 74 in particular. He had a lot of charts that were done and are very much a staple of that band's library. So if you haven't heard the Greg Hopkins big band chart on this from Buddy's band, it's a blow for sure. As is really, that whole album, or that whole, I guess, that time period of Buddy's band, that the stuff that Greg Hopkins was writing was some pretty intense stuff. Um, to keep it back about the actual tune itself, though, and regarding our modules for analysis, a couple things. Module 2.2 with regards to form. There's a couple ways I think you can look at this. The first being an ABC tune, where each section is 8 bars long, but because each section is 8 bars long and there's 3 different sections, it also kind of has an element of a blues as well, almost being like a double blues. So either way, that you approach this tune, I think is fine, but I think it would be important to at least consider both avenues. Again, not necessarily important that one is correct over the other, but for analysis and perspective's sake, keep both in mind. Module 2.3, where it talks about feel, obviously there's a straight eighth component to this piece and a swung eighth component as well. And I'll get a little bit more into my thoughts on that towards the end, and especially in another module. The Horace Silver break, right? We're starting to see this theme come up over and over again on the G7 chord right before the last 2 bars. That we've seen this now. Horace Silver is a big fan of the break, and we've seen that. So again, this is something that we're going to take from Horace Silver's music and try to put that in our own music. Module 2.5 again is which one? This is the primary structure point. I also happen to think that the G7 chord, where the actual break is, really functions as that harmonic structure point right before we get back into cruise control on the C minor 7 chord. And module 2.6, 24 bars in length for the tune. The feels on this chart for style analysis, I haven't heard any real different versions of this tune in particular, with exception to, or that have deviated from Horace Silver's style, where straight eighth notes, and then when it gets to the A flat 7 chord, if you're considering that part of the blues, or if you're considering it as its own C section where the swing starts to come in. I haven't really heard too many deviations from that, which would be an interesting thing to experiment. How you can make this tune different with feel, and once you open the floodgates with the SF Jazz Collective's album, and actually thinking about it, their chart it's not ringing a bell to me. But while I have that up here, let's give that a check. SF Jazz Horace. It's this one right here. Let's see if Nutville is on there. No, they don't do that chart. I didn't think they did. But anyway, once that approach to composition has kind of entered our palette, really the sky's the limit for what you can do with feel. And like I've said before and a couple times, on a chart where it's pretty consistent how people approach it. That's definitely grounds for coming up with a new way to approach it, at least in my opinion. Um, Module 4.3 is the one regarding modality. And this is the case because the music is, it's almost ties into that, which module is that? It's the stagnant one. Module 4.5, where the harmony is parked for a while and it really allows for some exploration and some space. During the first 16 bars of the tune, 12 of them are on C minor. So you definitely have some time to explore the tonality and the sound, much more so than the other compositions that we've taken a look at thus far. The harmonic rhythm of the piece, in my opinion, really ties into the field change. Uh, as the C section starts, this is the only spot with the rare exception of this D flat 7 chord, which is really just kind of setting up the resolution to C minor. This is where the chords intensify in harmonic rhythm. Everything is one bar, one bar, one bar. Also, throughout the chart, at least for me anyway, I feel this in more of a 2 than I do in a 4 on the melody to the tune. Bum, 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 right, I'm here. And then once the bridge comes in, I feel it much more in a 4. And I think the combination of feeling it in a 4 along with the harmonic rhythm increasing, I think both of those facets work together to create more motion than we actually realize to that break. It almost feels like we're starting to run out of control, and then right, we get the stop at the G7, and then we're back out, to the 2 feel again, the cruise control. So I think that's an interesting takeaway right here. As the harmonic rhythm increases and we feel the 4 instead of the 2, it adds a little bit more momentum leading up to the break. I also find this to be another lyrical melody. Again, not necessarily sure if there's words to it. Maybe not as much here on the C section. One, I guess, lyrical part that it has is that it's so sequential. Right? It's so boo 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 boo. It's the same rhythm over and over. So the repetition of it definitely lends itself to be lyrical. But something that's particularly cool about this chart is the parallel major thirds, right? All major third harmony. Even right here, where G flat is the harmonized note on a strong beat on a C minor chord. Diatonically speaking, you would think that would be G natural. But the parallelism of, the major third as it's going all the way across, it brings in some notes that are outside of the tonality of C minor. So, and especially right here in F minor, right? So B natural is not necessarily a diatonic tone. G flat, E natural, right? And even held through here is more the sharp 9. We're missing a third here, but we've got the sharp 9. So the parallelism of the major third interval, it kind of adds, it adds a twinge to the harmony. And, Horace Silver is just sticking with this interval regardless of, adjusting it to what the tonality is here. So I thought that was a pretty cool takeaway from this. All right, everybody. That's what I have on this one. As always, hope these are helpful. And if you haven't checked out the Buddy Rich version, that would definitely be one on your list to give a look at. All right. Hey, have a good one.